Every who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton, but where to get great prices on gifts they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
From toddlers to teens,
and social media to screens,
we have so much to be mindful about as parents in the digital age.
Bruh.
As Black and brown moms with 6 kids between us, we're excited to be partnering with Meta, a company that is committed to supporting parents in this digital age, and to be answering some of parents' biggest questions about technology, safety, and raising resilient kids.
We'll double click on AI, technology, and online safety through expert insights and our own parenting wins and fails, because none of us have this figured out.
I'm Samantha Danielle, content creator, writer, and mom of 3 teens.
I'm Kanika Chadda-Gupta, TV journalist, podcast host, and mom of Irish triplets in elementary school.
And this is Parenting in the Digital Age with Sam
and Kanika, brought to you by Meta. Hi, everyone. We are so glad you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about AI and the future of education and beyond.
And I mean, my kids use ChatGPT for everything from their homework assignments to their book reports, even to the simple things like creating a recipe on the weekends.
Yes, mine too. My youngest, Shrey, will just ask Google anything. He'll be like, show me a velociraptor, show me a baboon's butt. Like he's like hilarious with that. And they talk to Google like he's a member of our family.
He is. I mean, he keeps a lot of our families going. Definitely mine.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe that we used to have to use encyclopedias for this information and they can do it within 2 seconds?
It's crazy. Oh my God, it's crazy. I think of when I was younger, my mom actually sold World Book encyclopedias. She was just that one who was suckered into these things. So there was World Book, Mary Kay. She just got into this stuff. But I remember specifically this one time we had a flood in our basement and the encyclopedias were ruined except for one, which was letter K. And it was okay, so if I had to do a project on Kenya or kangaroo, I'm good. But L through Z, forget about it.
And see, my granny was the one who had them and people would come borrow them from my grandmother's house. I would say she was a person who invested in education, but she was really a person who kind of invested in the infomercials. So we would always have 1 or 2 missing too from a neighbor who wouldn't return them. So I completely get that.
Yes. And now we have the advent of social media, which is a whole other genre and undertaking in itself. And it's so exciting because that's how we've connected and how we build our businesses. So I'm just so excited to welcome our guest today. Her name is NICOLE LOPEZ, and she is the Global Director of Youth Safety at Meta. NICOLE, welcome to Parenting in the Digital Age.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see the two of you, especially on this somewhat dreary Monday morning. I had a weekend that was filled with kid activities. I think we had 6 sports matches, as well as a Dave and Buster's extravaganza. So it was a lot of activities, and I'm ready for the week to begin with you two. So
I see you on social media. Your boys keep you booked and busy, NICOLE.
I mean, I'm always on my toes.
I think I'm going to share a little bit about how we met, thinking about your boys. All right. Yes. We met over a year ago. Here you guys came to do a creator dinner here in Nashville. And what I loved about that dinner the most was that you had your son there. So it's Jackson, right? You had your son Jackson there. And he is such a little, he's a boy, but he's like a little man. He had on his your button-down shirt. And I remember you sharing with us, one of the sweetest stories was you told us you traveled a lot for work. But one of the reasons you brought him there was to kind of get his buy-in, because he kind of was like, well, Mom, you're traveling a lot. So you were like, let me bring you along to see the work. And I think that speaks to like your character as a mother. And also, it was so sweet to see he was really engaging and interesting. Like, he kind of came through the dinner and he was watching you and he was like joining in on the dinner conversations. And I just thought that that was so cool. And it was just a good parenting tip, to bring your kids in sometimes if you're kind of going through a different type of situation with work. So that's how I remember meeting you. I remember that great dinner and your sweet little boy Jackson and how funny he was that night.
And I also remember meeting you and you giving me all of these nuggets of information on how to broach and, like address those moments when parenting is really tough. And my traveling for work is definitely one of those things that I think I did want my kids to internalize what is the importance of the work that I'm doing. And by getting him to go and actually see me in action, I think it became more real rather than, oh, mom's working all the time or mom has to travel for work. He actually saw me in action, met the parents, saw what the Screen Smart event was like, and it was really beneficial. But you had some great tips that you shared with me, which is one of the reasons I always love going to these parent events.
Thank you.
And Nicole, we have to just say that we are so grateful to you for bringing us together because this series is all because of you.
I'm blushing. I feel like it's kismet. The two of you were meant to meet. So I'm happy. I like connecting people. It's always been something I've loved doing. So there's nothing, that warms my heart more than seeing people coming together, whether it's setting people up. I have set people up. They haven't gotten married, but I've definitely played the Yenta role of matchmaking, and then just like bringing people together it's so important.
It's beautiful. It's really, really special. And I wanted to share how Meta does so much behind the scenes because you and I met at a Mother's Day lunch and learn where we learned all about the Screen Smart series, parental controls. We did a deep dive, and
That's
it
right.
was great to be able to do that in community with so many other content creators in the parenting space. And I think that's something that people don't know about. So, firstly, tell us. What your role is at Meta and all the things that go on behind the scenes that we don't see.
So, in terms of my role, I joined Meta 2.5 years ago, and I oversee youth safety policy. And Kanika, I mean, I know you and I have talked about this on one of your prior episodes, but I have spent the bulk of my career focused on youth related issues, both in the private and public sectors. So, my work at Meta is really building on something that I've been passionate about my entire career, which is protecting vulnerable populations. And I did this both as a prosecutor. I worked for almost 9 years as a prosecutor in California, where I worked on everything from child endangerment to child exploitation cases. And I also had a stint in the gang unit where I worked on cases impacting teens and their families in the community. And then I worked at a couple of smaller startups that, again, were focused on keeping kids safe online. So at Meta, I oversee a team of subject matter experts in everything. And we say it's youth safety, youth well being, but it's in everything ranging from bullying and harassment to suicide and self injury, eating disorder issues, what parents need in order to support their teens. So, like, what are parental supervision tools that we should be building, and what's age appropriate content. And when it comes to all of these issues, we work alongside our product and policy teams to make sure that anytime we're considering building a feature that impacts youth and or their parents, that we bring experts into the mix to help evaluate and help point out what are the mitigations and what are the things that we should be building to support teens and their parents. So that's a little bit about what I do. And when I talk about, I think people always associate Meta with Instagram only because Instagram, of course, attracts the teens, but it's across all of the apps. So our messaging apps, Facebook, yes, there are teens on Facebook, and our VR experience as well.
Wow, you guys do a lot. You do a lot for keeping all of our kids safe. And you also do a lot with your babies. Like I said earlier, I follow you on social media and I see you doing traveling, taking them to different places, being active in sports with them. How does the work that you've done in your career and specifically with Meta, how does that affect your parenting style? How does that affect you as a mom?
So I will take the flattery. I don't know. There are a lot of days that I don't feel like I'm doing a great job parenting. So thank you for the vote of confidence. Um, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of failings on my part, both, parenting in the real world, but also parenting when it comes to tech. So I will say that working at Meta has made me a lot more sensitive to issues on the home front, also thoughtful because I'm really embedded. I'm steeped in this world of talking with parents all the time and also talking with experts. And so I think that some of the takeaways are themes, but also real world examples in which I've changed what I do on the home front when it comes to engaging with tech. So I do have two tweens. They both are online. And frankly, it is overwhelming. So, some of the lessons that I've implemented that have worked, because there are a few that I've made some, shifts at home. I think first, I explain how I use my phone when I'm on it or my, computer, whatever I'm doing. So I use my words, right? Like I'll explain to them in real time. I'm reading the newspaper right now, and this is what I'm reading about. Or I need to take a break from everything that I'm doing, and I need a little bit of levity. And so I'm going onto Instagram and I'm looking at stories that my friends are sharing. So I will talk it through with them so that they know that I'm being thoughtful about how I'm using my time. I also use my phone with my kids. So, of course, they're too young to be on social media. They're under 13, but I will show them what I'm doing. So if I'm creating a video, I will show them again, I'm creating this video. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And if they want to go online, I will go online with them because they're at the age where I think it's really important that I be connected to what they're doing. I will also, I think the third thing that I do, which is something that I learned from some of the experts we work with, including Dr. Pressman, is I will use my phone for teaching moments. So the other day, I was on Instagram with my 9-year old, and I had posted a picture and he started asking me questions. Well, why do you have so few likes? Which on the one hand, I was like, why are you picking up on this? And why are you commenting in that way? But it was actually great because I used that moment to say, look, it's not a popularity contest. And he started asking, why do you have so few friends? I was like, look, I
Attacking. You're
don't have
attacking me a bit.
that many friends. I don't have that many likes, but I like the picture that I posted. And then I
Mm.
also told him that sometimes, you can hide your likes because it's not about what other people think. It's about what you think. And if you like it, you should post it. But it was this great conversation. Did he grasp everything I was explaining? Not sure. But I do use those moments to really start the dialogues early so that they understand my perspective. And hopefully, when they're old enough to start using social media, they'll be a little bit more informed ahead of it.
So my kids love dinosaurs, especially my youngest, Trey. We used to read him how dinosaurs say goodnight, and he would know that this is Yangchuanosaurus from China. Like he just was like next level with his paleontology knowledge. But it made me start thinking of how we as adults, millennials raising geriatric millennials, if you will, raising kids in this generation, we don't want to be dinosaurs. And it reminded me of a moment when my dad was in his 40s and he had my sister like reprogram the VCR to tape something. And he was like, I don't know how to do it. And my sister figured it out and knew how to do it. So we want to really change that narrative for parents and help them have tech fluency. And I think that's a big like fear. It's like, how do I do the parental controls and monitor my kids online when I don't even know how to use the app?
Totally.
So how can you like encourage parents to like learn, roll up your sleeves, you've got this?
So I'm one of those parents, to be clear. My kids tease me all the time. I'm a total Luddite. Even though I work at a tech company, that's the irony, but I am one of those parents. So first, you're not alone. That's something you should know. I think there are a couple of, I guess, pro tips, I would call them. First, I always encourage, and again, obviously I'm biased because I work at Meta, but I'm proud of something that my team has worked on as well as other teams. I encourage parents to go to our family center. And so for your listeners or viewers, I would say go to our family center. It has it's a centralized hub that has a number of resources for parents who are facing that challenge of maybe not being up to speed on all things tech related, whether it's AI, whether it's how to use your VR headset, whether it's a sticky topic like sextortion and how to talk about, a nude that your kid might get. I mean, these are conversations that I've struggled with on a personal level. And so we work with a number of experts to address these issues and to help get parents ahead of it so that they feel equipped to understand the tech and also broach difficult topics with their teens or even tweens, because the earlier you have the conversations, the better. So that's number one. And I think number two, a really great piece of advice that I got from one of our experts that I have also implemented at home is to learn the tech and to do it with your kids. So, for example, the other day, one of my kids was on Roblox and he started telling me a little bit about one of his experiences. And my immediate reaction was to panic. And I remembered this kernel of advice that an expert had shared with me, which was if you don't know what's going on, learn it and then do it with your kid. And so I got on Roblox with my kid and I asked him to explain to me, as he was doing it, what was going on. And I realized that everything was okay. Nothing dramatic had happened. But that's something I do tell parents, which is if you're worried about what your kid is doing, do it with them. That way you have the actual understanding and then you can, rest easy about it.
That is a great tip. I actually do that with my kids. I have dedicated what we call phone time, and it's twofold. It's spending time with them and making sure that we have some time to connect, but it's also a little bit of time for me to be a little nosy because I'll just say, hey, like, show me something, like, what's the funniest reel you've seen this week? Or like, show me like the funniest. And by doing that, you can tell a lot about your kids' algorithm. You can tell a lot about what they're watching because what they are liking and sharing, they're going to see more of. So that's an
Totally.
opportunity for me to kind of be nosy and be in their business. And then also, there's just fun things we like to do during phone time. Like they'll share recipes. We found some of our best recipes on social media, honestly.
Love it.
So I love that tip. And that is something that I kind of do in a different way with my kids too.
Yes, I think it's brilliant. I have elementary schoolers, so we're not at that stage yet, but I love that we can get ahead, and I can't wait for that. I can't wait for them to have their own phones and then for them to text me and us to like bond over the apps that they like. So that
Totally.
it's nice to know that that's on the horizon. Nicole, if you can share some of the tools that parents should know about when it comes to parental controls, because there are many.
There are a lot of parent controls. I'm going to focus on Meta's specific parent controls because I think that there's a lot just with Instagram's new teen accounts. But so for your viewers, again, our apps are 13 plus. And on Instagram, this is like a very exciting moment. It was a culmination of a lot of hard work and thought that went into it. We launched our teen accounts in September. And our teen accounts are experiences for teens that are guided by parents. And what it is we know that parents, you were just talking about it, Kanika and Sam, but we know that parents are overwhelmed. And we started, and my team played a part in this, we started talking with parents, trying to understand what parents are most concerned about. And we know that generally it's the contact that their teen has online, so who their teen is talking to, the content that their teen is seeing, and then also how much time their teen is spending online and whether it's meaningful. And with those three top concerns, we started thinking through what could we do to make parents feel good about their teens being on Instagram, right? So that they're not worrying about bad interactions or, problematic content that their teens are seeing. And so we designed teen accounts to address those concerns. And so what that means is we are defaulting all teens into these built-in protections that are automatic, meaning if your teen creates and opens an Instagram account, we default them into private accounts. We default them into messaging restrictions. We default them into content restrictions. And then we default them into time spent, meaning that we are muting all notifications between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. because teens need their sleep. And then we're also giving them a reminder after an hour online that it's time for them to get offline. And I think the really important thing here is that we also heard from all of the experts that we met with, but also the APA, the AAP, and a number of other expert advisory bodies, that generally younger teens are in a very different developmental stage than older teens, right? Like a 13-year-old is not developmentally in the same place as maybe a 16 or 17-year-old who's getting ready, to go to work or to go to college or who's driving a car. 13-year-old might be, in the middle of puberty pains and in 8th grade. So younger teens, 13 to 15-year-olds, cannot get out of these restrictions without a parent's approval. So, if you're 13 or 14, 15 years old, you're defaulted into these restrictions. If you want to get out of them and have like a public account, you have to enlist your parent and get them in parent supervision. And then it's up to the parent and the teen to decide, is my teen ready to have a public account? Is my teen ready to get messages from people they aren't connected with? And so I think, overall, it's been such an amazing development. We're hearing from parents that they love it. I will say that not all teens love it, but that was a risk that we took, meaning that we knew teens may not be okay being put into, serious restrictions, but we think it's the right move long term to reassure parents. And the other thing I would say too, because you asked about controls, we also expanded parent supervision tools. So parents, in addition to knowing who their teens are following and who are following their teen, parents can also see who their teen has been talking to in the last 7 days. And if a parent, once they're in parent supervision, decide, like I want to restrict not only the hours of day that my teen is on Instagram, but when they're on Instagram, parents can go further. So it's a really great way to maximize parent involvement. And if a parent decides, I don't want to add another app where I have to be supervising my teen, they don't have to do anything because the teens are stuck in these restrictions. Older teens can relax the restrictions if they want to because they're 16, 17 years old. They're a little bit more mature than a 13, 14, 15-year-old.
That's great. I have a follow-up question to that because I feel like there's a lot of parents who are of the mindset that they don't want their kids maybe starting at the onset not having phones. They don't want their kids on social at all. And this is because they're really fearful of cyberbullying, which is on the rise, and grooming. And, how do we protect the kids from that, but giving them some freedom at the same time? Because I know personally, I don't subscribe to like an all or nothing mindset. I feel like you have to give them a little something, and I know Sam, she definitely does with her 3 teens. So how do we just, stay away from that, but know that like they're not going to be subject to predators online when you have the controls in place?
Totally. It's scary. I mean, I'm a former prosecutor. And so when I think about what I'm, most worried about, that's one of the top 2 or 3 for me. So I would say a couple of things. First, one of the automatic protections within our product experience with teen accounts is to address those issues by defaulting teens into private accounts, which means that nobody can see what your teen is posting or who they follow or who they're following. And all of that personal content, it's not made public, right? It's automatically private so that your teen only shares it with their friends. We also have messaging restrictions, which means that, again, the teen is not going to be getting messages from creepy adults or even creepy teens unless they're electing to be connected to them and for them to follow them. So that's an automatic default that, again, younger teens cannot wiggle out of without a parent saying it's okay. There's another feature that I think is really important that relates to your concern over cyberbullying, which is our hidden words. And again, we're automatically defaulting all teens into hidden words, and that filters out both words that might be harassing or problematic on the teen's posts and also in direct messages. And then on top of that, we give teens the ability, because we know that bullying is contextual, right? Like every engagement that you have or interaction you have might bring up words that could be problematic for me, but maybe not for the two of you. So we encourage teens to add words, phrases, or emojis to the hidden words filtering so that way they don't see those specific words. One other, and this is an obvious one that everybody knows, but I think that like blocking people if they do start being problematic, also using our restrict feature, which allows a teen to basically put somebody in the other room without knowing that they've been put in that room. So if somebody's, commenting or saying things that make you feel uncomfortable, you can effectively block them without them knowing that they've been blocked. That's another tool. So those are some of the, automatic or tools that we encourage teens to use. I would also say that there's a lot that happens on the back end that people aren't aware of, right? Like we are using all sorts of AI to detect problematic and bad actors who might be seeking out teens. So if we start seeing that adults are looking to friend a lot of teens on the same day, we will block them from finding teens. We won't let them find teens. We also, if you as a teen are connected to somebody who's engaging in problematic behavior, we pop up what we call a safety notice, and it alerts a teen that, maybe the person you're direct messaging is not somebody you should be talking to. So we encourage them to block them or to put thought into whether they want to continue to talk to them. So we do a lot of work on the back end to alert to teens that something might be awry.
And Nicole, though, you guys do a lot behind the scenes that people don't know about. Thank you for letting all of the parents know about it. And to just piggyback on that, can you share some information on sextortion and what parents can do resource wise, just to be knowledgeable and be proactive, or if they are dealing with that? Can you share some tips or resources about that for our families that are listening?
Yeah, of course. So sextortion is on the rise. It's been around for a little bit. When I was a prosecutor, I remember, dealing with it in that context, and people are rightfully concerned about it. And there are a couple of different types of sextortion. There is content sextortion, which is when somebody threatens to expose an intimate image of you unless you send them more intimate images. And there's also financial sextortion, which I think is the one that most people have heard about, which is where, somebody scams you. They might pretend to be, somebody that they're not. They get an image of you that's intimate, and then they threaten to expose that image unless you send them money or other things of value, like a gift card, for example. So it is financially motivated. And in terms of what we're doing at Meta, there's a lot, right? Because law enforcement has reported a sharp increase in these types of scams. And so I had talked a little bit about some of the automatic built-in protections that we've recently deployed in terms of all of the private accounts and the messaging restrictions. But we've also introduced some other new safety features, including blurring nude images and direct messages, and warning people of the risks of sharing them, and also letting people know on the other side, that if they're getting an image, that it might potentially be a nude image. We encourage people to, in addition to not opening them, to report the person and to report the image. We also are testing a new feature of letting people know when somebody they're chatting with is in another country. And then we had a sextortion PSA that we launched recently, which I think is really important to educate young people on what sextortion looks like so that they're familiar with it and they can start seeing the signs of it. So, for example, if somebody encourages you to leave the app and to go to another app, that's something that people should be aware of. So we did partner with a number of creators to get the message out. So that's something else that we've done recently. And then if you're the victim of sextortion, you should know that there's nothing to be ashamed of. And this is part of the educational PSA, but there are ways to remediate the situation. And they can go to Take It Down, which is run by NICMIC, and also Meta and other companies have partnered with NICMIC. And the idea here is that if you shared an intimate image, you can go to the Take It Down website, and it's actually, the technology is really, really cool. You can take an imprint of the picture, meaning that you're not actually uploading the picture off of your phone, but if it's a picture that you've shared with somebody and they've threatened to do something with it, you go to the website, they assign, it's a hash, but it's basically a digital imprint to the image. And then without the image going anywhere, only the numerical hash is shared on this platform that NICMIC runs. And it allows other platforms to proactively look for that image and to take it down before it's actually shared online.
Wow.
So the technology is so impressive. And the point is, we know that people are really, really worried about sextortion, but with education, with all of the built-in protections, and with the Take It Down solution, we're hopeful that we can chip away at this issue.
Wow.
Wow, that's incredible. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for just shedding light on all of these resources. Just as a recap, tell us where we can find them and find you.
So in terms of where you can find resources, go to our Family Center. It has everything on it. It's just such a great centralized hub for parents to review whether their teen is ready for Instagram or not. There are articles by experts on everything that you need to know about how to navigate your teen's online experience and to support them. In terms of where to find me, I have a private account, so you will not find me anywhere, but you can find me on LinkedIn. But my Instagram account is just for family and friends, even if I don't have as many followers as my tweens would like.
Well, we're happy to be your friends.
Thanks. I will. I love having you as my friends. It's not a
I
hot
feel
contest.
special to be in the elite few. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nicole. This was
Thank
really
you.
illuminating.
Thanks for having me.
And now a word from our sponsor. Hot off the presses, we wanted to be among the first to tell you about some exciting news. Meta's enhancing safety efforts for teens once again. We love that Meta is committed to helping parents like us navigate this crazy digital world we live in.
So true, and us parents need all the help we can get. Meta announced Instagram teen accounts in 2024, and since last September, 97% of teens aged 13 to 15 have kept the restrictions in place to date. There's built-in protections which limit who can contact teens and the content they see.
Meta's making the teen accounts experience even better by adding additional features like placing teens into restrictions around going live. As with existing teen accounts restrictions, teens under 16 can't change these to be less restrictive without a parent's permission.
In addition, they're starting to bring these features over to Facebook and Messenger so parents can have more peace of mind when it comes to their teens' experiences across Meta apps.
One of the ways parents can make sure their teens receive these new heightened protections is to check if their teens list their correct birthday on Instagram. Meta will send notifications to parents on Instagram later this month to remind you to check on your teen's age. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast series wherever you listen for insightful tips on parenting and online safety.
And you can find me, Samantha Danielle, at samanthadanielle.com or on Instagram at Hey Samantha Danielle.
And you can find me, Kanika Chadda Gupta, on my website, that's totalmomsense.com, and on Insta at Kanika Chadda Gupta. See you soon.
See you soon.